Hi there, Musitrature Recaps here. Today, I'm explaining a movie called The Source. The story unfolds in a distant Arab village nestled in North Africa. Here, a long-standing tradition dictates that women must fetch water from a hilltop spring. As a villager endures the pains of childbirth, 4 young girls trek up the hill with brimming buckets. The ascent is arduous, and the descent proves daunting, especially for a pregnant girl among them. Amidst the struggle, a slip leads to spilled water and the pregnant girl bleeding, foreboding potential infertility. Meanwhile, the village celebrates the birth of a boy with lively festivities. However, upon their return, the girls from the hill are distraught. One of them has suffered a miscarriage, casting a shadow over the otherwise joyous occasion. Leila, hailing from a different place, struggles with the local customs in the village. She's upset by the situation and refuses to celebrate the newborn as one girl is grieving. Her mother-in-law Fatima insists she join the singing, but Leila regrets it as the song highlights women's hardships and the injustice causing infertility. Despite this, the festivity continues as people view it as normal. Later, Leila still grapples with what happened. At dinner, she refrains from entertaining her father-in-law's request, causing gossip among the men the next morning. They mock the strike, doubting its longevity. Fatima urges her son to leave Leila for a younger woman, but Sami loves Leila and stands by her decision to boycott, supporting her in the village. The following day, Leila hides in a shed reading a book, a practice frowned upon in the village where most are uneducated. Meanwhile, Sami, working as a schoolteacher, tries to gather children for lessons. Not valuing education, the children scatter, disrupting classes. To address this, Sway seeks help from the imam and a churchman to influence the children, but they decline. Tourists arrive, paying the village elder for cultural entertainment. Welcoming the guests, the village head invites them to dances and songs where women perform. Mother Fusel, leading the dance, sings a song mocking lazy men unable to meet women's needs or bring water to the village. Conflicts arise among families and children due to these tensions. School children accuse the kids whose moms initiated the boycott, branding them as tradition traders. Sami tries to pacify them, but his presence as Leila's husband fuels their revolt. At night, Sami gives Leila a book, 1001 Nights, encouraging her to find strength. Chaos erupts in other houses as men resist women's new rules. One man silences his wife in pain. Next day, women meet on the hill, noticing bruises. Husbands pressure them to end the boycott. Few support the women, urging them to stand firm and respect themselves. Continuing his teachings, Sami brings the Quran for Leila to understand potential accusations and respond to offenders by referring to the laws written in the Holy Book. Early in the morning, Sami's sister Esmeralda runs to the mountains to meet her lover and retrieves a letter. Illiterate, she asks Leila to read and help her respond to the letter. Fusel aids a village woman and her baby, learning the woman's husband mistreats her. Fusel advises using pepper and garlic, even offering to spend the night protecting her from the domineering husband. Following influential advice, a woman puts her children to bed and takes action. At night, men convene, discussing the women's boycott that obstructs their intimate moments. In the morning, Leila reads a romantic book to the girls to show them what a healthy relationship should look like. Later, the men gather separately to decide how to bring love back into their lives. Sami proposes building a water pipe, upsetting the elders who resort to fighting. Sami and the other young men depart, realizing it's better to respect the girls' decisions than force them. Meanwhile, Fusel leaves the village, urging his son to have a brief conversation. Simultaneously, Esmeralda rushes to deliver a letter to Slim, written with Leila's help. While at the market, Hussein buys groceries and encounters the father of Esmeralda's intended. Upon learning about the village's boycott, the man refuses the planned marriage and insults Esmeralda's father. The next morning, Leila gets a call from her mother, who's far away and fears her daughter will be left alone and unwanted if she persists. Her mother urges Leila to give in and end the boycott. Leila suspects her mother-in-law stirred this up but refuses, believing men should do more than just drink and gamble. Sami tries to resolve things, heading to the city to meet local authorities about the water issue. However, the politician is upset by the villagers' demands for electricity and water. He warns Sami that giving in might lead to women demanding more luxuries like TVs or washing machines, seen as wasted money. Sami, feeling defeated, returns home and discusses with his father, who now disapproves of Leila. His father suggests finding a younger wife for Sami to have children with. Sami, taking his father's words seriously, tries to talk to Leila, but feeling betrayed, she runs away and leaves a note on the cafe wall, declaring the boycott will continue. The next day, villagers rush to paint over the note and encounter a journalist studying insects. Sami approaches the journalist, hoping he might highlight the water supply issue, but the journalist, Sami, bluntly refuses as it doesn't align with his interests. Later, Fusel informs Leila about a man waiting for her at the hill. Using buckets as a diversion, Leila hurries to the water source, only to find Sami, her former lover. Realizing who he is, she quickly returns home. Leila later helps Esmeralda draft a love letter and converses with her father-in-law, defending her stance. Sami's in deep trouble because the principal wants to fire him over the boycott. Worried about losing his job, he tries to find another one but gets turned down. Back in the village, he thinks the boycott's done when he sees his wife, but he's mistaken. The elder decides on a bold move. He talks to the leader to buy 30 young girls to replace the boycotting women. Later, Leila meets Sami in the field and asks to be left alone because she loves her husband. But things take a dark turn at night when Sami and Leila are forced to listen to Sami's brother beating his wife for saying no, then he forces himself on her. In the morning, Leila faces the truth and confesses to Sami that Sami was her first love, and she wasn't a virgin on their wedding night. Sami feels betrayed and hurt, refusing to hear any explanations from Leila. Meanwhile, Fusel's son arrives in the village, set on becoming the new imam. Esmeralda discovers that it's not her boyfriend delivering Slim's letters to the merchant, it's Leila. When confronted, Leila explains that she's doing this deliberately because their communication is being watched. Later on, women gather near the cafe and create a well, weaving a message to the men: your hearts are as dry and empty as this well. The angry villagers burn the well, sending protesting girls to meet with the imam. He tells them they must serve men and obey them in everything. Using verses from the Quran, Leila proves the equality of women and men. The imam agrees with her and supports their right to continue the boycott. Meanwhile, Sami approaches a journalist with a knife to remove a rival. Sami confesses that he wanted Leila back but realized she no longer loves him, so he left her alone. At night, Sami struggles to fetch water from the hill, understanding the difficulty. Nai continues to stand by his wife, who has initiated the village boycott. The next morning, Esmeralda discovers Slim has been married for 3 months and hasn't written her any love letters. She suspects Leila's involvement but doesn't dare confront her. Fusel learns of his son's plan to become an imam and reacts by striking him in the face, feeling he's undeserving of that position. The men discover the women's plan to announce their boycott at a celebration in the largest village in the area. Meanwhile, the women, aware they've been found out, opt to use veils as disguises. The next morning, men hired by the village leader trap the veiled women, restricting their movement. Believing their wives won't show up at the celebration, the men start dancing. But soon, it's revealed that children were hiding under the veils, allowing the women to reach the central square and sing their anthem. Touched by this, Sami decides to write an article about the women's fight for their rights and the crucial need for water. When the journalist receives the published newspaper, he returns to the village and hands it to Sami. Fearing the impact of publicity, authorities decide to meet the women's demands to prevent it from becoming a national issue. Leila shows gratitude to Sami with a flower and then makes love to her husband, ending the boycott. A couple of days later, water arrives in the village, and the women revel in life, dancing and having fun. Esmeralda bids farewell to Leila through the merchant, sharing that she's leaving for the city in search of a better life, and here the movie ends. Thank you for watching.